Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have J.M. Stelly on the line, and he's a founder. He's also a writer and director over at Anatomica Films. And this episode is part of our AFM series. That's our American Film Market series, where we bring you the best of those who attended and participated in AFM in Century City or Los Angeles, California. So, J.M., welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man.
All right, so definitely want to get into the work that you're doing over at Anatomica Films. And just to get us kicked off here, I understand you're at AFM this year. You also premiered one of your films. I mean, talk to me. How was the experience?
Yeah, this was the first time that my company went to AFM. I've been making movies since 2015, actually before that. But the first version of the particular film that we premiered, Within Madness, was put out in 2015. This past year, I went and sort of did like a remake, redo of the original film. And we shot the movie in September, so we shot about 45 pages in 2 days.
Wow.
And then I cut the movie over the course of 3 weeks, did all the sound design, did everything myself, and then we premiered it 2 weeks after I had finished the film. So, yeah.
Man, how'd you do that? I can't just glance over that, man. How did you do that? Let's start there.
So, as a filmmaker, I've been making movies, doing pretty much everything myself for years. I mean, I do all the post-work myself, do all the editing, color correction, sound design, music composition. I direct them, I produce them, and like I said, I do pretty much everything, either with no crew or a very small crew. You know, I've shot Within Madness, the additional stuff, the only crew that I had was my makeup effects guy. Everything else I did by myself. I manned all 4 cameras by myself, and 4 cameras recording all at the same time, by the way. So it wasn't like one camera here and then we went to another camera. No, we had all 4 cameras rolling at one time. And then
man, do you like the challenge? This is insane to me. That's amazing. Go ahead.
So after doing this for so long, there is no real extra challenge anymore when it comes to the technical point of view. Because I do it all the time, and I've done it so many times, it's like cruise control, because you just know what you're doing at some point. But for me, the challenge is more or less creating things that most people would assume I have a crew of like 80 people to do. And really, it's either a crew of 1 or 2 people or 8 people, which this past year alone, actually since September, I've shot 3 movies, features.
Yeah.
So since September, since Within Madness, and then AFM I premiered, literally 2 days after I left AFM, I made my movie Vessel, which we made that over the course of 8 days, shooting sometimes 30 scenes a day.
Wow.
And I just wrapped my latest movie, The 13th Gate, last week. And we shot that over the course of 7 days. So, yeah, it's just been...
How do you keep up this production? Like, what keeps you fueled? What keeps you motivated? I got to know.
My motivation comes from... I told myself back in August, I said, I cannot complete this year without shooting 3 movies. So whatever that takes, however we do it, it's got to be done. And then I just so happened to be trying to raise money for Within Madness at the time. And I had an investor come in who I knew, and he was not a person in the film industry. He was actually at AFM with me, and he has since become my executive producer. After experiencing making Within Madness with me, he was like, what else do you want to make? And so I told him the other 2 movies I wanted to make this year, and he's like, I'll put up the money for him. Wow. And you just go make them. And I'm not going to sit over your shoulder. Because I had put stipulations down. I said, after I had one really bad experience that would take forever for me to talk about. But I had one really bad experience, and I said, I never want to go through that as a filmmaker ever again. Ever. It was just depressing. It was just an awful experience. It was like my first really big movie with a fair amount of money for a low-budget film, and it was the most miserable experience I had ever had. So I hate it. I don't even like watching the movie because it just conjures all that old stuff up. I'm proud of the movie because, again, made the movie in 9 days, cut the movie, did everything I told you I do in my movies.
Yeah.
But with this overlord, for lack of a better term, in these movies, I said, I don't want to do that. If you're going to be executive producer, if you want to be an executive producer, what I need is a person who can get money. I will deliver the product. All of my movies get distributed. I know that world, and I have connections in that world. And it's like, if you want to see the film industry as it is in Hollywood, let's go to AFM, and let's not only go to AFM, but let's premiere Within Madness there. And let's just go kick the door in for a little bit. And so that's what we did. And then now he got a taste for it. He's like, and we had some really good meetings and some positive things are happening for 2026. So he's like, I'm all in. So now I have an executive producer or a business partner that believes in me as a filmmaker. And as a filmmaker, that's probably the most important thing you could have, because it is a hard business. But I am responsible for every aspect of it. So,
speaking of, how did you get into this? Like, how did you get into film?
So I was working for Apple. I had always wanted to be a filmmaker. Let's just start there. I wanted to be a filmmaker since I was a kid. Saw Batman in 1989, and I was like, I don't necessarily want to make superhero movies, but whatever this is, that's what I want to do. And then I saw Halloween, the original, when I was 8 years old, and I said, I want to make that type of stuff. Like, I want to make horror movies, because that's what I was attracted to. And so I'm from a small town in Louisiana, man. I'm originally from a place called Houma. I didn't know anybody in the film industry. And I was always a creative kid. You know, I'm a sculptor. I've been a musician for 30-plus years and all those things. But when I moved to Baton Rouge, I started meeting people that wanted to make movies, and the movie industry is here in Louisiana. And so back in 2009, I made the first version of Within Madness. Didn't finish it. And then in 2014, I was in the film industry doing other things at that point. I said, let's finish this movie. And then I finished it, and it got distribution and was released in 2015. And it's just been going ever since. It's just been a passion of mine. And I had to educate myself on how to do everything, how to operate a camera, how to edit, how to color. I was a musician, but how to compose music, it's a different world from being a jazz and metal guitar player to composing every single instrument that you hear on the screen. I can do that. And so
that's insane. That's amazing.
So I taught myself how to be everything. And so when you first start out, you're not great. You know what I mean? Great, but as the years have progressed, I've built a fan base and I've gotten better. And I always tell people I don't consider myself and will never consider myself a master of anything, because I am constantly learning something new about how to do the things that I do. And it's like this last movie I just finished, there's a ton of green screen in it. And this is the first movie I've ever done where it's reliant heavily on visual effects. So it's going to be an interesting, I challenged myself in that way. Never done that before. Now we're going to do it. So.
Dang, I'm blown away. That's inspiring. And what do you attribute? You mentioned something about you have a fan base. How did that develop, and how do you feel that you were able to attract that? And I asked that, by the way, for the other listeners, because the other potential filmmakers out there, because to me it's always interesting. I feel like everybody's always worried about the entire trying to get the universe, and I'm like, man, if you can get a solid fan base, you can do a lot. And if you make things that are authentic and cater to you're true to yourself first, but then your fan base that follows and that you attract, like, you can have a legit following. And I don't mean like just social media followers. I mean like people that really, truly, genuinely appreciate your work. Like, how did you develop that fan base?
Social media, I think, is the main way to do it. What's really interesting is I join a lot of groups and groups on Facebook.
So you participate in communities as well. So there's actually a big tip in what you just said. You're not just constantly one-sided, like, look at me, look at me, look at me. You're actually participating in other communities too. So it probably makes it more likely that people want to follow you as well. Am I off on that?
No. I mean, like, I'll talk to people. Like, it's not even like, I remember, here's the thing I'll tell any filmmaker, and I tell them this all the time. If you're making the movie or an art or a music or a piece of art, whatever you're doing, whatever artistic endeavor you're on, if you're making it to be famous, or if you're making it to attract people, or injecting social narrative just to gain fans, you're doing it for the wrong reason. You need to just make the movie that's make the piece of art you're making that's in your brain, and don't worry about, make it for yourself first, and people will come. Like, you need to make the thing that you love, and other people will love it. And to be very clear here, some people are going to hate it. And so, like, one of the things that happens is, naturally, somebody's going to say something negative about your work. I have gone on forums where people have said, I love this stuff, and I love what this guy does. And then I've had people dog it, and I'm able to go, hey, man, look, I appreciate your opinion. I know you didn't like this movie. Let me tell you why. You tell me why you didn't like it, and I'll explain to you why maybe you may have saw something you didn't see, or whatever the case may be. And a lot of times they'll be like, oh, man, like, thank you for interacting. I'm like, look, man, I'm never going to tell somebody to like my movies. Never going to happen. Either you like it or you don't. All my movies are very different. I don't have one particular style that I adhere to. I just make the movie that's in my head. And I'm not trying to impress you with it. That's the first thing. I'm not trying to impress you. I don't care if you're impressed by what I do. This is actually my career. It's my job.
Yeah.
It's my job to at least entertain the people that want to watch these types of movies. And so because of that, I've gained an honest fan base of people who like my work. And it's growing every day. I mean, naturally, the biggest thing is trying to make a name for yourself. It comes from making connections with a multitude of different types of people, from journalists to reviewers to anybody. And it's not so that you can gain their trust, so that you get a good review. I mean, that's not why you do it. I want an honest review. But it's to build relationships in a community of people that are going to help elevate your name just a little bit further. And, you give them perks by, letting them watch your movie before anybody else, or giving them a screener copy, or whatever the case may be. Yeah. And at the same time, as you go to a thing like AFM and you make your name known, and now people in your industry know who you are, and you become friendly with people. And then that elevates you more to having maybe a fan base outside of just normal fans, but you need to have fans within the industry as well. Yeah. So it's not just the people who are watching your film. You need to have people in the industry that are fans of you as a person. And that comes from being a good, honest businessman or businesswoman. And not lying to people about what you've done and who you are. You know that term, fake it till you make it? Yeah. Yeah, don't do that. I always tell people, don't do that. Don't walk around pretending, because I'm going to be the first person to say, show me your work. Because I've worked really hard at being a film. I'm 8 films deep into my career, and I know what it takes to make a movie from the conceptual phase to actual delivery of the film based upon delivery specs of distributors. Yeah. And so there's really no wool you can pull over my eyes, because I know the business now. And any aspiring filmmaker who's listening to this, get the whimsy out of your mind. Like, don't be whimsical. It's good to be an artist. It's a good word. I like that word, by the way, Jam. It's a good word. I haven't heard it in a while. It's a good one. I think people have a lot of whimsy because I'm a filmmaker. Well, okay, let's call that. You've made a short film. I don't consider you a filmmaker yet. What I consider a filmmaker is a person who has gone out, made a movie without restriction, and has put it out. I don't care if you put it on YouTube, and put it out for the world to see and for the world to judge, and walked away going, okay, now I'm going to go make another one. And knowing that firsthand, no one is going to hand you $1 million. They're just not going to do it. You have to go out and make the movie you want to make, and make it as reasonable as possible. And understand that there's 1,000 ways to get money for your film, but there's only one way to make the movie, and that's for you to actually go out and do the thing that you want to do, and stop waiting for somebody to give you permission to do it. Because that's what filmmakers, aspiring filmmakers, even professional filmmakers, they're just waiting for somebody to give them permission to do it. I just don't agree with that. I can tell. And your actions, by the way, show that you don't agree with that. Why? Because you were like, forget it. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. I love that. Look, man, during COVID, we shot 2 movies back to back. Wow. And we just got together and did it. And it was like, look, the whole world is shut down. I'm not sitting around waiting. Let's just go make movies. And we made those movies for no money, nothing. I mean, I own all the gear. That helps. You know, the fact that I own all the gear. It's like Call of the Void, one of my movies that came out last year. We shot that movie at night only by candlelight. Those are the rules. Cannot have any sort of light. Only candlelight and lantern light. There was no script. It was only an outline. In fact, 4 of my movies were unscripted films, only outlines, and we just either improvised dialogue or after I finished cutting the movie, especially in the case of Call of the Void, the script was written after it was already cut for VO purposes. I didn't know what the character was going to say until I knew what the edit was going to be. And so in the case of Call of the Void, the script really wasn't written until after the movie was already cut together.
Damn.
And so that also gives you the freedom, though. Like, because I've funded most of my movies myself, I don't have to adhere to some financier that doesn't understand the process of making a movie. So I just got to do what I wanted to do. It won 28 awards because of that, because I didn't sacrifice my vision for a paycheck. That's important.
Man, Jim. Well, you got another fan over here. I'm happy to have been able to get you on the show today, and this has been a lot of fun. You totally changed a lot of my perspectives on how some of this stuff works, so that's awesome. And I think for my audience, I'm sure they're going to get a bunch out of this as well. That being said, if people want to follow your work that you have out, projects you're working on, and otherwise, how do people connect? How do they do that?
So you can find me, j.m.stelly on Instagram. I don't use TikTok all that often, so I'm there. I'm just not there, if you know what I mean. Like, I'm there, but I'm not there. I mostly use Instagram, and you can follow, you can go to YouTube. Anatomica Productions is on YouTube, and that's where you can find trailers for my movies. But honestly, the main place you can find me is on Instagram, because that's where I post most of the pictures and trailers and videos. It's my Facebook, it's more of my personal stuff, but you can find Anatomica Films on Facebook. But yeah, Instagram, anybody can follow me there.
Got it. And then for the films and things like that, they'll see that on your Instagram, and they can see where to find out where it's streaming and all that other good stuff, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of my movies are on Amazon, of course. All you gotta do is hard search James Stelly. I've got a couple of movies on Tubi right now, Demonologist and They Are Watching are both in there. If you have the Found app, They Are Watching. There's a million ways to watch my movies.
Awesome.
And then if you go to www.anatomicafilms.com, that's a great way to kind of keep up, to see my company and what we do. And we have 3 movies that are going to come out next year. Of course, the 3 movies that I shot this year, we're going to try to release them next year. And then start shooting 3 more this year. Coming up.
That's what I'm talking about. And you will remain doing it. I love it. This is a great story. For everybody listening, just so you know, we'll definitely put some links in the show notes so you can just click on the links and go check out Jam's work. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way in your journey as well. So again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And JM, thanks again for coming on the show.
All right. Thank you, brother.